North of Milan, the third oldest purpose-built circuit in the world and the oldest in mainland Europe. The rain-threatened Autodromo Nazionale di Monza is the heart of Italian motorsport and the location for round 4 of the Sim Racing Collective's Le Mans Ultimate Masters Championship. 3 rounds to go, including today's bout at the Temple of Speed, with the Hypercar Championship blown open by our title leader's absence, and a GT Championship with a new front-running contender showing their face as well at the last round at the Belgian Spa circuit. 5.7 kilometres of high-speed tarmac will provide the fastest race on our calendar this season. We have some new entrants this round, those being Bradley Sellers, Chris Davis, Johan van der Venter and Jack Southfield, all in the GT category, aiming to dethrone the undefeated Mercedes runner of Ian Pfeiffer. In Hypercar, the championship looks to change once again, with 2 of our participants supposedly being absent. One's reportedly been locked in the hospitality unit with a local delicacy of lasagna, and the other's been uncontactable, so they're currently under the locating of a search and rescue team. Hopefully both of them can attend the next few rounds of the championship, but for now, the only one of those 3 drivers here today is going to be Adam State of the team. The most important factor today, however, is the looming threat of rain throughout the event today. Track temps are remaining high, so is the percentage chance of the heavens opening. But as we head into the qualifying session, the overhead clouds that we saw earlier seems to be on the favourable side. As we currently have a look, as you can see the rain is starting to come down, the wiper frantically activated on the front of the number 6 Penske car. I believe that will be Adam State making his way now through the long right-hander of Curva Grande, the Aston Martin as well. There's going to be plenty of drivers here today that hopefully going to be taking advantage of the ill weather. Through into Variante della Roggia, chicane of 4 and 5. It's a very difficult corner to get right, especially in a hypercar. Getting the braking just right and not hitting the curbs too hard. Down through the Lesmos, 6 and 7. Pitch the car in, try and let it run out wide, but you don't want to run it too far onto the curb, especially in these conditions. Starting to get wetter, starting to get a little bit more sodden. Out through turn 7 and on your way now down through the Curva del Saraglio, under the bridge that would have been what was used for the old banked oval circuit. You can just about see to the left of that Rolex sign. Through Variante Ascari, it's 8, 9 and 10. Try and use as much of the curb as you dare, but you don't want to risk unsettling the car a little too much and then ending your lap prematurely. The long run now down towards Parabolica. You pass what is the exit of the very, very short circuit here. And then hard on the brakes into turn 11. Try and get the car as wide as possible on the exit to get the best run down towards the start-finish line. And Billy Octane will come across that line. A 146.648 with Davis doing a 145.329. So it'll be interesting to see what we've got going on today. But of course, Nicholas looking to make amends. He's not had the best of seasons so far. No results scored in round 1, and then 2 fourth places the last 2. Does sit him fourth in the standings rather on 38 points, but also 36 points. But he is 41 adrift of championship leader Gabriel Delier. Looking at Ian Pfeiffer, who has gone pole with a never mind. Chris Davis goes pole with a 56.673 in the Lexus. One of our new entrants for today with Paul Venter up into 3rd and Shooter in the Porsche, only 3/10 adrift. This weather is going to really be favourable for that for the Porsche. It struggled in the previous rounds, just not at circuits it really gets on with. And to be fair, Monza's not one of the best for it either. However, the weather will really be helping that car with the traction that it does possess. Currently looking at Jan van der Venter as he makes his way through down towards Ascari. Pitches the car in over the curb. And again, even the GT's not really using too much curb here. Don't want to unstop the car, don't want to send it too far wide. Makes his way down towards the final corner. He's already a little bit off the drift at the moment. But of course, it is a very, very wet Monza, and anything could potentially happen in the race. 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. And Billy Octane now goes fastest in the hypercar class, outhipping Nicholas Davis by a 10th. Aston Martin up the front from Cadillac from Porsche. And in GTs, it's Lexus from Porsche from Lexus, with Mercedes only being as high as 4th so far. Benavente comes across the line, will slot himself into 8th for the 201.5. We now look at Jack Telfield, one of our other new entrants, the TSRC regular, commonly known as JS8. Heads down into the final corner. He's a little bit adrift of the pole sitter so far. Trying to keep that car settled. The rain definitely getting worse here, so we're probably not going to see too many improvements in this session. We've probably seen the best of the circuit. 58.8 will slot him into 9th. Just having a look at who else is out running at the moment. Billy Octane not on an improvement so far. And I don't think Billy's actually had too outstanding a season so far. Just pull up the championship standings once again. Currently in 6th, the 5th or 6th, and a not score last time out, 27 points. So hopefully he can be looking to have a bit of an improvement today. But a non-improvement so far. But does see him still sat on the pole position as he makes his way through the Parabolica. Aston does sound absolutely sublime. A little rear end switch as he tries to get back on the power. Not to be on the power so early. Using all of the exit to get the most possible top speed, to get the best possible run down the start-finish straight and towards turns 1 and 2. The Rettifilio on the brakes. Try not to snag the brakes. It's so easy to do in these hypercars. Henko van den Berg as well to start his next flying lap. Currently set in 6th place, is pretty much where he's been all season. And he had a very good showing last time out in terms of the general pace. Just it didn't work out on the strategy side of things. But out of the Rettifilio towards Curva Grande. Keeps it as tight as you possibly dare through there. Even in the wet, you really want to try and keep it as tight as possible. All the aerodynamic downforce is doing the work on the brakes. Down into turn 4. Pitches the car in. Just slightly snags the car. The rear just ever so slightly snapping out. Of course, the Ferrari is a 4-wheel drive hypercar. It is just so much more balanced. It's a bit more pointy, but it's a lot more controllable, especially in these conditions. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that car potentially climb a little bit further up just on the basis of how easy it is to drive. Down by just about half a second in the first split. Is there going to be an improvement as we head into Ascari? 4 tenths down in the second. So not an improvement on their personal best, but still not far off the pole either way. Craig Twardock, we saw last time out how good a qualifying he had, and we saw how good race pace he potentially could have had, if not for the start penalty he received. Sets a 2 minutes point 3 in that Corvette GT3. Currently sat 6th on the grid, but qualifying is not going to really make too many differences here. Of course, we all know what turn 1 can be like around here. Vitantonio Liuzzi still has the award for probably the largest and most spectacular accident at turn 1 here in a World Championship event. And of course, we've seen what the European Le Mans Series and the World Endurance can do around here as well. So will we see any repeats of that today? Christian Yoshimitsu, the second of our Ferraris, had a very good result last time out, actually. But currently sat now in 6th, taken that off of Henko. Pitches it through the right-hander. And meanwhile, seeing that Gil has jumped up to 3rd place as well, which is good to see. Of course, Ryan Gill, one of the other Aston Martin Valkyries in the field. So it currently means it's Aston Martin Valkyrie from Cadillac, from Aston Martin Valkyrie from Porsche, from Isotta as Peter Vernier steps up to 5th place on the grid in the Isotta Fraschini. Good to see Peter back as well. Was not too well last time out, but it seems he's also got his pedals and such fixed because he was having some issues with those. Oliver Newman as well. Good to see Oliver. He's been entered for the full season so far. Sadly, hasn't been available for the past couple of rounds, so it's good to see him turning up here for Monza and hopefully for the rest of the season. Of course, with fellow rookie monster, Bradley Sellers, alongside him, both obviously Ollie in the BMW, Bradley in the Lexus. Currently looking at Patrick Den, he finished 3rd place last time out. Very good pace between himself, Angela Scotti, and of course Ian Pfeiffer, who won last time out. 6/10 off at the moment as he makes his way towards Ascari. This is one of those circuits where we're going to be looking to see the Astons potentially struggle a little bit more. Not got the top end of the Mercedes, but also just seems to struggle a little bit on traction as the rear end comes out and spins round and around and backwards into the barrier. That's going to be a new rear wing, please. Florian Reiter, our sole Glickenhaus, currently sat in 8th in Hypercar. His positions chop and change. The timer ticks to 0 and the checkered flag will fly. Looking to be a relatively interesting grid. We've not really got anyone that we normally see, as we also see Yoshimitsu actually 3rd in qualifying in the Hypercar class. Good to see some little changes. Valter Steenbergen, 9th for Aston Martin as well. But your pole sitter in Hypercar, Billy Octane. Got a new pole sitter. We're going to have a completely... we're actually going to have a new manufacturer, because I believe Adam State was on pole last time out. But either way, Billy Octane will head the field from Nicholas Davis, Christian Yoshimitsu, Ryan Gill, Adam State, Peter Veneer, Henko Vandenberg, Florian Reiter, Viardi Ron Boutz, who remember last time won, so some fortunate... Oh no, Viardi's not here, apologies. We've only got 8 hypercars turning up here today. 9 because I don't see Steenberg on the qualification list. Meanwhile, in GT, Chris Davis takes the pole for Lexus. Very good drive by Chris Davis there to get the pole at the last minute. Of course, Sean Shute in 2nd, Paul Venter 3rd, Ian Pfeiffer in 4th, Lucas Polvica in 5th, Craig Twaddock 6th, Oliver Newman 7th, Angela Scotti in 8th, Oliver Parker James in 9th, and Jack Southfield rounds out the top 10 in the GT category today. Paul Crawford, Connor Dickman, Bradley Sellers, Patrick Den, Johan van der Venter all round out the rest of your field, with Ryan Walker and Lester Pollock not setting times. Well, we have 45 minutes of racing ahead of us, and the skies don't look much better than they did in qualifying, I have to be frank. A higher percentage chance of rain in the race, with it going to, well, pretty much almost certain towards the end. What will the strategy entail? I don't think anyone's going to be bold enough to start on the slicks here, so I would be expecting to see intermediates at the very slickest for those that have them, and maybe full wets if they don't. The black and white Aston Martin there, Billy Octane. Very easy to see that car, but not as easy as the red and white Penske Porsche, or the very blue and white and red is Otto Frashidi just to the right of shot. First time we've also had a Porsche on the front row this season at TSRC, of course. Shooter setting a very good lap time to line up alongside debutant Chris Davis. Chris Davis, a lot of history in sim racing, primarily on the R-Factor 2 side, and again, a very experienced hand in a GT car. So not surprised to see him this far at the sharp end. Of course, has history with Ian Pfeiffer, both raced in similar leagues and similar races, so no love lost between the two, and already some targets to be set. The timer ticks to 0 for the grid.
Formation lap has started.
And we get away for the formation lap. Billy Octane. First time pole sitter in the season. It's always one of these ones where you're the first time you've actually had a pole position. You have to go, when do I want to sort of, how am I going to take about this start? Do I want to defend? Do I want to take the line into turn 1? And when you've got someone as aggressive as Nicholas on your left, you do have to rethink these things sometimes. Of course, not unclean, but just one of those drivers that likes to be a little more aggressive with the moves and a little bit more on the sharp end. 60 kph on the pit limiter. Rolling out of Parabolica. Down towards the checkered flag and the start-finish line. Not the checkered flag, the green flag rather. Not finishing the race already, we've only just begun. And that's how we like it to stay.
Green flag.
The lights will come on, and the green flag will fly. It's a beautiful getaway by Nicholas Davis. It looks like Billy Octane didn't even get off the start that well at all. He's going to get absolutely swamped down the field. He's already down to 6th place before they've even got past the pit exit. But Cadillac will lead into turn 1. And they will lead for the first time this season. And Yoshimitsu side by side with State through turn 1 over the curbs. A little bit of contact between the two. Adams forced onto the curb as well. And in GT, Ian Pfeiffer gets a beautiful start. Already up to the lead. Chris Davis and Shooter, 2nd and 3rd, still squabbling side by side. But as we come out of the Varianti di Rettifiglio and through Curva Grande, we've got a yellow flag. Seems that not everyone made it cleanly through the first chicane. but it seems we did in Hypercar. Davis from Yoshimitsu from State. State looking to take the championship lead here today with the absence of Romberts and Dielli. Tenko Vandenberg is up to 5th now as well. I think that's a spin in the background as well. Potentially yellow flags on the board. Sorry, Reiter struggling to keep that Glickenhaus straight and narrow as well. Of course, that car is only internal combustion engine, no hybrid on the bright blue machine. Oliver Newman currently sat in 4th. We look at now in the number 73 Rookie Monsters BMW. Very good start from him. Of course, his first race, the first race with us here today. So good to see the Englishman make their way down towards Ascari, following that Porsche. Of course, the poor Porsche trying to keep up with the Lexus in front. Of course, the top end just not quite there. Through Ascari, what can the BMW answer for? Again, probably one of the better cars in these conditions, just a little bit more stable, a little bit more planted. I want to say that's potentially Paul Venter behind him. Meanwhile, we look at 7th place in Hypercar going wide. That's Florian Reiter around in the background off the circuit at Parabolica. Wonder what has happened to him. Hopefully it was just a harmless little spin on the brakes. As he gets back going. Looks like GT field's going by, and I think he's going to look to duck to the pit lane. Pulls it off onto the gravel. Meanwhile, side by side between the Aston Martin teammates. As Rygil just goes ever so slightly deep, has to take to the escape road over the curb. Make sure he doesn't overtake Henk van den Berg. Meanwhile, Oliver Newman, side by side with Shooter into turn 1. The Porsche on the inside, the BMW on the outside. Get the cars turned in. That Porsche runs ever so slightly deep, has to go over the curb. He's going to get a horrendous exit, spins the rears up. And there will go Oliver Newman up to 3rd place. Now he can set his sights on Chris Davis in front of him. And that's also Venter going to have a look at Shooter as well. Don't think he'll manage to get it done into the chicane at Variante della Rosia. But he might have a look. He's pulled to the inside just to get out of the spray. Late on the brakes, but no one's going to really have anything to answer for here. But look at the traction the Porsche has out of the corner. Newman defends to the inside, going into the Lesmo. On the brakes. Still there, the Porsche trying to hang on the outside. It's not going to work there. You're never going to have enough room. He's going to have to sit behind him. That is one of the Lexuses going wide on the outside. There's been a contact between the two, and round goes Sean Shoots. Slides it right, slides it left. And Peter Veneer's in the wall at Ascari as well. It seems all the GTs, though, looking at the map, have gotten through. As Peter Veneer gets himself going again, potentially contact with Henko van den Berg, maybe. We're not too sure. We'll hopefully find that out later for you. But meanwhile, Yoshimitsu leads for Ferrari from Davis. We've had a change at the front. The Tifosi side by side with the Americans. Into turn 1, it's still side by side for the overall lead here, and later on the brakes is that Ferrari just ever so nicer. Gets the car stopped, gets it turned in. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a better exit as well. The rear end does kick out ever so slightly though. But that Cadillac just ever so slightly dropping back, and I wouldn't be surprised. It's already about half a second between the two. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets a little bit larger, but good to see Yoshimitsu up the front. He had a good showing last time out. He's looking to improve upon that today. We're looking at Paul Crawford, 7th place. He has got, I want to say, that's Southfield behind him in 8th place, and that's Twadok in front of him in 6th. Into turn 1 they go. Twadok obviously making some places up, didn't have the best of qualifying. I believe that's Bradley Sellers behind these two as well. Yeah, that is the very pig front round in the background. I want to say that is Southfield. It is indeed. Round he goes, gets the car spun the right way. And Shooter, not too far back, looks Polivka as well. And that, I want to say, is that Ryan Walker that stepped down? Or is that Den that is in the 27? No, that's Angela Scotty. She's had a massive delayed start here, down all the way in 11th, about 19 seconds off the lead. It's complete opposite to where it was last time out at Spa, and where it has been all season. Hopefully she can climb her way back up the order, because all important championship points here today. But of course, the worst thing that does happen is she does take it as a drop round. Of course, we do have a drop round where your worst round will be effectively deleted from the championship standings, but you don't really want to use it where you don't need to. And for Scotty, we all know what she's capable of in the Aston Martin. We've seen it last time out when she was taking the fight to Ian Pfeiffer. Meanwhile, Owen Parker-James versus Crawford. Swadok with Bradley Sellers not too far behind. Through the exit of Ascari, there was a brief yellow flag, but I think that's all sorted itself out nicely. Corvette to the right, the Lexus to the left. I think the Lexus might just have the legs on the Corvette here. Swadok has to defend. Who will brake later? It's going to be Bradley Sellers. Sellers on the outside of the entry at Parabolica. He gets the car stopped and he's going to get a better run through as well. Oh, well, that's a slide. That's a slide, and I want to say it's a spin as well. It is. That's a spin for Crawford. It's going to drop him down the order. The conditions really taking their toll already. And of course, the first wet race for us here in TSRC this season. All these drivers experiencing the wet anyway, but of course, probably not to the conditions that we are today. It's heavy rain, heavy rain indeed, almost storming it down. That promotes Bradley Sellers up to 6th. Venter and Newman. We also have a fight for 4th place. This is Billy Octane. And I want to say that is going to be, well, I want to say it's Ryan Gill in front of him. Heading down under the bridge. Apologies, Ryan Gill behind him, not in front of him. Through Ascari. And it is Ryan Gill indeed. These guys about 12 seconds off of the top 3. And the top 3 is still really close here as well. A very big slide for the 33 there out of Ascari. You don't want to be doing that too often. It is going to give the run to his teammate. To the inside goes Gill. And he's going to back off through Parabolica. No need to fight each other too hard this early on. There's plenty of time left to go. Still 37.5 minutes remaining. Meanwhile, for 3rd place, Sullivan Newman versus Paul Venter. Venter having a very good race here today as well. The highest he has run all season. We're seeing a lot of different drivers at the front here today, which is good to see. On the brakes into Ascari. The BMW ever so slightly when he's on the gravel. And he's going to have to give room to the Lexus on his left. And through will go Venter. And they've got Owen Parker-James, who's having a really good race as well. I mean, not really had the best of seasons so far. But he's having a very good race. Meanwhile, that's Bradley Sellers that wants to have a look. To the left he goes, late on the brakes he goes, and through he goes. Debutant is already proving his way to the front of the field. Meanwhile, the lead gap in GT is down to a 2nd now between Chris Davis and Ian Pfeiffer. So we might see that get a little bit closer. We all know what Chris Davis's pace was in qualifying, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it improved during this race. Meanwhile, Owen Parker-James can now see the rear end tail lights of that Lexus GT3. And of course, that Lexus, the oldest car in the field, remember. All of these cars in the field have pretty much had multiple evolutions or even new cars completely. That Lexus is still the same pretty much as it was back when it was introduced for the IMSA Championship back in 2016. Crawford out of turn 1 now. As you see, the Porsche shooter ever so slightly getting a bit loose in the background, making their way towards Curva Grande. A little fight in the background still. I believe that's Palivka still having his little scrap. You can see how heavy the rain's coming down on those puddles on the edges of circuit. Of course, that's going to be even more critical, is where do you brake? Do you brake through the puddles? Do you want to risk the aquaplaning, or do you want to, you know, just take it steady? Of course, we already have a pitter. That's Johan van der Venter. Of course, he's not had the best of runs, but he's still had a good debut so far. Through Ascari, Ian Pfeiffer. Through the right-hander, now through the left. And Chris Davis has lost a little bit of time, but he's still within sight of the Frenchman. We will see what he can do. And these guys about 8 seconds or so ahead of Paul Venter. Of course, Venter in himself having a fantastic run, as we stated earlier. And just having a look towards the hypercar fight as well. That gap has gone out between Yoshimitsu Saito. Yoshimitsu having a stunning race here today. The Tifosi are going to be very happy about that with Ferrari heading the hypercar field. The yellow flag has come out once again. I wonder where that is for. That is Paul Crawford. And that is a missing wheel as he is on the left side of the exit of Ascari. Something rather large has happened to the Lexus there. But that's going to be unfortunately a retirement from the race for him. Palivka is making his way up Parabolica in 10th now. I believe that is, I want to say, that is Southfield behind him. Making their way down towards Town. No, it's Scotty still. Apologies. The joys of the custom liveries. It's nice and easy to tell who it is. The standard liveries, you have to pick and choose to who is running what. Meanwhile, into turn 1, the BMW goes very deep indeed. The Aston Martin nice and square. Going to get a better run. Vika's obviously going to have to give up some time. Of course, the game is tracking what you're doing. The more time you spend off the circuit, the slower you're going to be going overall. Out of the final quarter, once again, the fight rages on between Gill and Octane. The two Astons scream down the start-finish straight. Spray a must into the slipstream, out of the slipstream to the outside will go Billy Octane. But he's going to have to brake nice and early. His teammate brakes later, and his teammate is going to go over the bumps on the inside of the corner. He's going to have to give some time up there. A little bit of a slide from the 33. Brings it out. The 26 on the outside. It's going to favour a teammate slightly. But of course, Ryan's going to have the inside for Variante Della Rosia. They're going to be so close. A little nudge between the pair, and they're both going to slide wide. Both going to slide through the interior of the apex of turn 5. But these guys still got a nice little gap to the cars behind, so they can just breathe a little bit, recollect themselves before having to worry about who's going to be in the mirrors. And the race is starting to settle down a little bit now. Of course, our little pick and choose fights every so often, but in the overall sense, it seems that everyone has found a rhythm and found a way to make things work. Meanwhile, Southfield versus Twardock. Of course, Southfield on a little bit of a recovery drive after the spin earlier on. To the left side of the Corvette that seems to be struggling ever so much in a straight line around here today. The Aston nice and cleanly through without much of a draft at all, however. Braking ever so late is Twardock. They're going to be side by side, a little bounce over the curbs, and I think Southfield might have it. Oh, both of them getting very slidey out of the exit of turn 2. So make their way down through Curva Grande towards turn 4. What can we see that Corvette do? Of course, very wet circuit as well. You've got to pick and choose your points carefully. Of course, being ever so light on the throttle, even with the inbuilt traction control and the ABS in these cars, it's still not an easy set of conditions to manage. Up towards the Lesmos now, and it seems that Southfield's just starting to pull away a little bit. That Corvette's going to start to fall into the hands of Schuter's Porsche. However, we do have a lead fight now between Yoshimitsu State and Davis isn't far behind, and they're in the GT traffic. This is probably one of the worst places to catch them through the Lesmos because you lose so much time and you can't really get them until the run through Seraglio. Out of the corner to the right of the GT they go. Adam State very well in the slipstream of that Porsche. And we know how much he struggled for top speed the last time out against the Aston Martin. Rue Ascari, they're both ever so sliding. It's such a difficult thing for the hypercars here because they don't brake that much late in the GTs in general, and even the wet, they're braking a little bit earlier, in fact. On the run now to Parabolica. That's shooting Twardock there. They get past one, have to sit behind the other. Now what do? Do you go left, you go right? A little bit of a nudge there. They're going to split the GT side by side, and State is through. State gets through on the inside of the Corvette. And as they make the run now down towards turn 1. Get by Southfield. Adam State can breathe easy, you can see easy as well. He's got no spray in his, just hammering the visor anymore. Through turn 1, you can just see how much more stable that Ferrari looks. A little bit of a slide. Man from the north, as I was corrected. I was told off for calling him from the Midlands, so he's now from the north. He's going to get further north until he reaches the North Sea. And towards Della Rosia. On the brakes. Oh, the rear end just kicking out ever so much. He's over the curb. That Ferrari is right behind him. He has to go defensive towards turn 6. I wouldn't be surprised to see Chris back out of that now. He's backed out of that as well. However, this is allowing for that Cadillac to get ever closer. And he's going to smell blood in the water here. Porsche versus Ferrari. We've seen this in GT a handful of times over the past few years. We're seeing it once again here in Hypercar. Both very matured programs. Both very matured drivers into Ascari. They're both going to get past the AMG F so tightly. Be surprised to see that was a bit forced there to try and keep that gap. But ever still, Davis is going to get by. They're going to run down towards the final corner. About a second gap between the leaders now. Another second back to Davis. And good 15 seconds back to Ryan Gill and Billy Octane. Those two separated as well now. This is the closest fight I think we have on the circuit so far. Blue flags and the blue lights flashing as vigorously as possible through the spray. To head towards turn 1. State's going to lose quite a bit of time here because he's got the Aston Martin in front of him. Davis sits behind the BMW. We'll get him on the exit here. Christian Yoshimitsu. So he goes to the outside of bright blue Aston. Making the run now towards the back of Paul no, it's Chris Davis's Lexus, sorry. No, that is Paul Venter's Lexus, apologies. Adam gets through on the inside of turn 4. A little bit tight, and that's a BMW off in the background. I think that's Ollie Newman that's just gone through the chicane. No harm, no foul. Adam State's going to be breathing a sigh of relief at this time. There's an Aston Martin that I want to say is a lap down because there's Bradley Sellers behind him 5th, and we know where Paul Venter is not too far up the road. This is going to be an Inter-Rookie Monsters battle here between the pair. Bradley Sellers can see the bright white rear end and the blue and white Rookie Monsters logo on the back of that BMW. Ollie Newman's got to see the bright white headlights of that Lexus in his rear view mirror. Of course, the two teammates are not going to fight each other too hard. However, two people that are going to fight each other pretty hard. Davis and Yoshimitsu, the Cadillac, has caught back up to the rear end of that Ferrari. And I think he's going to want to get by as soon as possible. Of course, these two not really in the fight for the championship so far, and sideways and backwards into the gravel at Parabolica. Because Yoshimitsu is not too well for him. Gets the car started again, gets it rolling. I think he's only dropped to 3rd because, of course, the battling Astons is still a little way behind. He's going to have to get through all of that traffic once again. He's lost a good 8 seconds or so. Meanwhile, I see that fight there between Newman and Sellers just in the background, getting ever closer. Looks about 3/10, it is less than 3/10 now as they make their way through turn 1 and 2. Neither of them going to want to give this up because it is pride, it's interpersonal pride as well between the two. I think I heard Bradley say he wants to put Ollie in his place, so Ollie's going to have to defend as hard as he can. Towards now, De La Roja. Through comes the first of the 2 Aston Martin hypercars. Nice and clean, bounce over the curbs once again. 25 minutes left on the clock. We're going to be looking to see the pit stops come in soon. Of course, we're running a slower pace. There's less laps to run. But you're still going to potentially see people getting a bit close on the energy front. And speaking of, 23% for your race leader at the moment. It is going to be a bit touch and go. Wouldn't be surprised to see if people are actually saving to try and cut out that pit stop potentially, because it is doable in the wet here. But is it faster than going flat out for the full 20 or 30 minutes and then barreling in for a 10-minute dash to the end? Well, Adam State seems to think so, as he's started to pull away about a 2.5 second gap to Davis behind. He's found his zone, he's found the comfort. And we all know that the Penske is better at turning those tyres on in colder conditions. Obviously, the track temp's still about 25 degrees Celsius, but the rain does cool it ever so slightly. Meanwhile, into the Parabolica, the Rookie Monsters pair. Bradley Sellers and Oliver Newman. Who gets the better run? Who's got the better top speed? Yoshimitsu is in to the pit lane. I think those tyres were pretty much 50p pieces by the end of that. So had to bail in. We'll take a new set of tyres, please. Down towards turn one, that BMW's got a little bit more top end. Just able to hold on, but Bradley is so much later on the brakes than that Lexus into turn one. Who gets the better exit? It looks like it's going to be pretty even Stevens to make the way through turn three. Going to be a bit of a rethink on the strategy plan here for Mr. Sellers. Down into turns 4 and 5. Of course, the later Bradley brakes, the closer he gets. And that's Ollie Newman. He's gone wide, has to cut through the inner part of the corner. He's going to have to give up time. So it's going to give Bradley a nice bit of a tow rope onto the back of the gearbox of the M4. Through the first of the LMUs, and the second ever so shortly after. These guys have still got a decent gap to the cars behind, but they've dropped about 7 seconds to the podium. Brad's probably happy sat in the slipstream there. He's saving fuel, saving the tyres. Always been a bit of a strategy man. Through into Ascari. Over the curbs. Another yellow flag out. Who has come strife this time? Cleared away relatively quickly, so probably just a minor little bit of a wide run. Down towards the final corner, the pair goes. Meanwhile, that's Jack Southfield on the back. I want to say, of Owen Parker James, who's had a very good start to this race, but the pace has just seemingly lacked a little. Obviously, Southfield trying to make up for lost time earlier on into the final corner. Best placed to the Aston Martins at the moment in 7th. Of course, another one of our debutants in this series this season. Across the start-finish line they go. 22 minutes just under. That Merc just has such a straight line advantage, even in the wet. Of course, 2 very similar platforms, but that Merc has gone ever so deep. He's going to have to check right up. Southfield's not going to get the switchback. He's recovered that beautifully. It's not going to give the Aston the run. They have got hypercar traffic to contend with. I want to say that's Yoshimitsu, because that looks like the... No, it's not. It's Vandenberg, actually, in the Privateer AF Corsa Cup. But side by side, the Ferrari decides better of it for now. And the Merc goes deep at Della Rosia. Out of the corner will come Southfield. Parker James didn't seem to lose too much time from that, although side by side is going to be a little nudge. There's going to be a very, very inconsequential, but side by side now into the second Lesmo. And Southfield is going to barge his way through. You're not shutting the door on me. I am very much in it. This is what hypercars can cause in traffic here. Traffic giveth, traffic most definitely taketh away. Down to Ascari, not able to answer back. Although I think that was Southfield coming slightly deep there, so I think he might get to take his own medicine. Meanwhile, Bradley Sellers has had enough. To the left he goes towards Parabolica. Later on the brakes is the Lexus. Turns the car in, gives just enough room to his colleague. But that BMW, so stable, so good on traction. And will still hold it coming out. And they're both going to dive into the pits together. It's going to be a battle on pit road between the two. It's the battle of the mechanics. And Southfield still holds 6th place in front of Parker James. And they're both going to bail in as well. So is Shooter of the Porsche behind. Another thing you have to be careful of here is not speeding in the pits because it's so wet. Of course, no cars running over it, and well, even if they were, you're still very much having to deal with the fact that there's quite a bit of rain going on. Meanwhile, Ian Pfeiffer stays out another lap. Now, we did see last round at Spa a couple drivers get pinged for overuse of energy. So these guys need to be a little bit careful. Scotty stays out as well. So she's looking for the undercut. She might even be looking to keep that car going to the end, although I don't quite think that's possible. I'd be interested to see what the hypercars are looking like, because Adam State, I think, is coming to the pit lane, because he's down to 5th place now, 56 seconds off the lead. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the rest of the field in shortly. Yeah, in comes Davis now. The Cadillac is in. Has he had a better in-lap? And Oliver Newman's had a penalty. That'll be for speeding in the pit lane. He'd look a little fast on pit road, but the margins are so fine, and you don't want to really give too much time, especially when you're in such a critical battle. And Southfield's been pinged as well for pit lane speeding. That's unfortunate to see. Meanwhile, top 3 in hypercar are in, so this is going to be the big one. Adam State into the Parabolica. Davis is still on the jacks. Oh, and he's had to get that car skirted around the Aston. I think he might just lose the lead here. Out of the pit lane he comes. He's still on the limiter, Now he's off the limiter. And away goes that Cadillac. And there is Adam State into turn 1. But Adam's run wide into turn 1. He's had to get the car straight almost. And you see him almost come to a stand to make sure he doesn't lose time, gain time there. Through Curva Grande. Up towards turn 4. That car just ever so snaky, and oh my lord, that's Jack Southfield side by side with Shooter. Always on the grass, I think he was there. Not sure if contact or just unlucky placement of his Aston Martin Vantage. But he's got Owen Parker-James right behind him. And of course, he's got a penalty to serve as well. Over the curbs once again. He's of an air lead at the moment in the Azotta. We have a new leader in general. And the first time Peter has led laps here. Good to see the Azotta at the front once again. Again, a very strong car in LMU, the Azotta. Didn't have the best of runs in the real world. As a yellow flag is very late down the inside his own Parker-James. There's big contact. There's a spin, and round goes Southfield. The stewards are going to have a look at that one for sure. Very late on the brakes and very almost uncontrolled on the inside of the Aston. He gets the car spun around again, but it's the second time that he's been facing backwards now, and I think he's probably getting fed up of it. Ollie Newman into the pit lane, serves his penalty, and out in 9th place. Promotes Bradley Sellers to 4th. And BMW Lucas Polivka up to 5th. That's going to be Craig Twaddock on the left. I think that's going to be a place given. It is. Bit of an air in pit lane now for the Azotta crew. That Corvette ever so slidey on the exit there. Don't want to do too much of that, of course. You burn the tyres up relatively quickly in the dry. In the wet, less of a story, but still not something you want to be doing too often. You've got, I believe, that's the Glickenhaus behind, and a flash of the lights just saying, yeah, I'm still here. I've not given up at all, my lord. I think that's why there was a flash of the lights, just to be careful. Because that was a very fast approaching Glickenhaus into turn 4. And that's a very big gap closed between Newman and Twaddock. He's not going to be able to get by him here, but he might be able to get him on the run to the Parabolica. He might be able to get him on the run to Ascari with how good of an exit he's got here. The Glickenhaus is going to go as far to the right-hand side as possible. Is the BMW going to follow him? No, he's not. They're both going to have to go to driver's right, of course, for the line into Ascari. He's going to look to the left. He's going to brake as late as he dares. Brings it back to the racing line, gets the car turned across. That Corvette is over the curb. It's not going to help his traversals too much, as sliding through the exit. He's going to definitely give Ollie a good run. He goes to the left. They're side by side, and we know how strong that BMW is. He's not letting him get back across. He holds the middle. He brakes as late as he dares. That's the overall leader, State behind. Adam isn't going to do anything stupid here. He's going to sit behind them, look to get him on the exit. That Corvette has to cut across, but he knows if he does, he's going to hit the hypercar. Newman's going to take it to the outside. Is he just on track limit to not get pinged with an overtake? But he wasn't by. battle of the top speed here towards turn one, and the Corvette's ever so slightly got it on the BMW, but he's going to go to the left again. That's Davis not far behind. He's not going to get him to turn one, but that Corvette has gone slightly deep. He's going to have a horrendous exit out of turn one. The rear slides as well. Here comes the BMW. Nicholas is going to be sat there cursing. He doesn't want to do anything stupid. He doesn't want to cause an accident here, but he doesn't want to lose too much time. They're going to be 3 wide through Curva Grande in the wet. He gets it done. And is it going to mean that Oliver Newman can get it done on the inside as well? Ever so tight, ever so tight. And he's got him. He's managed to get him on the inside. Corvette has to go through the infield to keep ahead. He gives the place up quite right. Very good driving by the pair. Very good driving by all three, in fact. Down through the Lesmo. I have just been sent an image from our residently lost and trapped in the kitchen of the hospitality units. He sent me a picture of the lasagna. So the lasagna's safe at the least, but he's not out here on track. He's probably enjoying it. He's nice and dry rather than dealing with the horrendous weather that we're seeing here at Monza. Bradley Sellers on his own at the moment. He's got a few seconds to Paul Venter. Fellow Alexis behind. But it does mean that he can just put his head down and pull away. Chris Davis is now at 12 seconds behind Ian Pfeiffer. So Ian has obviously taken a lot less fuel and energy on board in that stop. Potentially may not have even swapped tyres. That Mercedes looking to make it 4 out of 4 this week. Still yet to think if we've had a perfect season of our drivers in TSRC. It's not on the LMU side as far as I can recall. I don't think we've had a perfect season. Of course, it's not been fully perfect. He hasn't scored pole, but winning every single race isn't too bad a shout, is it? Meanwhile, that fight between Ollie Newman and Craig Twardock has cost Davis to a good about 3 or so seconds. So Adam State can now just breathe easy, keep himself comfy and relax. Yoshimitsu's found himself back into 3rd place, so that Ferrari is going to be nicely sat pretty. And Newman runs it deep, has to give up time. And that's Henko Vandenberg in the background. And of course, for all of you interested, the game predicts if you're gaining time or if you're losing it. And it will show up on the screen of the drivers how much time they need to give up, or how, if they need to give up time. It'll go from red to yellow to green. In the green, they're fine. In the yellow, it's going to be a minor warning. And in the red, it's most likely going to be either a heavy warning or an instant penalty. Each driver will have about 2 or 3 track limits points to use. And they can all be awarded 0.25, 0.5, 0.75 and up. Of course, severe enough, you get straight through a penalty. But of course, it's very rare for drivers to hit that Ollie Newman sideways, bang into the barrier on the outside of the corner, but he's across the track. I think he's definitely got steering damage there. He's got the car back in a straight line. Is it tracking straight? It looks to be tracking straight, but I can't quite see the wheel on driver's side to see how much damage is on that BMW. Such a good race from him as well. It's a shame that mistake is just crept in. Some days it can feel like it goes from bad to worse, but it does give you a big, big learning opportunity. Having raced alongside him, I know he will take that very much to board. But that car does look to still be performing relatively well because he's already on the back of the Corvette. So potentially managing to hit the wall in a way that hasn't damaged any vital components. Meanwhile, we're looking at Ryan Gill, who's sitting 4th in hypercar now. He's about 5 seconds off the back of the Ferrari of Yoshimitsu, but he's 14 seconds ahead of his own teammate now, so he's found some comfort, and the qualifying pace that we saw from Billy Octane has slightly got away, and that is Yoshimitsu backwards out of the Lesmo. He's off on driver's left. It's a very difficult thing to see. He's got the car ever so slightly turned round. He's on the inside, and that's almost very much an accident. As Anko Vandenberg tries to pull out of the spray of the AMG of Owen Parker-James. Makes his way through. That will be Billy Octane. It's Aston Martin back on the podium for the third time, sorry, this season. Fourth time, rather. Aston Martin keeping a permanent podium record here. I think actually keeping a perfect win record in the season. No, I tell a lie. Apologies, because obviously Gabriel swapped from Aston in the pre-season to the Porsche. Believe, yeah, it has been an Aston Martin on the podium every race so far this season. Meanwhile, Ollie Newman back on the back of Craig. Craig's Corvette. A little bit slidey. Just start a business with that name, really. Craig's Corvette. Become a car salesman. Out of the Parabolica, down the front straight. That BMW going to be looking to get as much of a slipstream as it possibly can. Whatever damage he has had from hitting the wall, it obviously isn't deterring him or causing any loss of speed, because on the outside he goes and brakes almost as late as the Corvette, but he's going to have a better line through the chicane, and it's going to be a rinse and repeat of what we saw earlier. The Corvette gets ever so slidey, but Ollie cannot get that car's rear wheels to do what he wants. Through Curve Grande. The Corvette tracks to the left. The BM tracks to the right. Little bit of a nudge just to say I'm still here. But through the chicane. They both make it through. No harm, no foul. And that looks to be the Isotta of Peter Vernier behind them. Out through the first of the Lesmos into the second. This is turn 7. Of course, that raised car on the inside very much, sending the Corvette sideways. It's raised on the very inside, and it dips where the actual apex is. But Ollie Newman to the right-hand side. The blue flags flash because of the very bright red Isotta behind. And I think Peter Vernier is going to try and go through. No, he's going to back off, let the two stay side by side. And he's going to look to get them into Parabolica. Very smart driving indeed. My lord, that Corvette is ever so sideways. Whatever they've got going in that Corvette feels like it's not got any form of grip on that rear end at all. Meanwhile, Yoshimitsu is on the back of Billy Octane now as they make their way through traffic through turn 1. And I think that's Connor Dickman in the foreground, and the Aston sideways. There's a bit of checking up. There's contact between the two, of course. Nothing either of them really could have done. One trying to collect the car, the other trying to avoid them. Connor keeping to the left, keeping to driver's left. Wants to bring the car over, but didn't really see the Ferrari in his mirrors. But not opposed to that. Keep the car in the centre of the track. Just say, look, I don't want you to come by me here. I'm not too confident about that. So signals just by moving his car over. Just don't, just sit behind me. And really good for Yoshimitsu to see that. Very intelligent driving by the pair of them. Meanwhile, Inge Vandenberg in the foreground. I believe he's actually a lap down to these guys. To make their way towards the back of Paul Vanzer. Over the curb. Sellers is up to 3rd now, actually, so something's happened there between Vanzer and Sellers. Whether Bradley's... oh, no, Bradley was there anyway. Apologies. But he's pulled away from margin now. Andrew Scotti, meanwhile, actually, progress on her. She's up to 8th now. She's not far off the back of the Porsche, the bright blue Porsche in front. Probably see more of the pink headlights than you can of the actual livery in this weather. Out of Ascari. Wonder where the pace of that Porsche has gone. It looked very good in qualifying. Potentially just suffering a little bit in the race. But then again, one of the drivers did get a good lap in qualifying with the weather changing through Parabolica. And that is Yoshimitsu in once again. Up on the jacks. Down, and away he goes. That's going to give Peter Venier the top 5. I don't think he's going to lose P6, however. So I believe 7th place is either Florian Reiter or it's Hanko Vandenberg, and of course they were quite a ways behind. Out of the pit lane he goes. Lead gap 5.9 seconds and increasing at the moment. Adam State absolutely flying here today. But it's a race sort of once again of what could have been for Yoshimitsu. He kind of had the pace last time out, but that Ferrari just wasn't doing what he wanted. And he's had the pace here today, but just a couple of things just not going his way. Meanwhile, for Adam State, it's going to be a nice big championship points haul here, and it will be, I believe, the lead of the Hypercar Championship here today. Good to see. But this championship is still going to be as close as possible going into the round at Bahrain next time out. Hard on the brakes through the chicane. He seems to be a little more stable now. You can see Davis actually in the back of shot there, so he doesn't want to be obviously too relaxed, but he's only got 2.5 minutes to go, and for lap times that we're running so far, only looking at maybe 2 laps to go. Meanwhile, looking now at 8th place Florian Reiter. Once again, it's going to be an improvement on his best result. His best result obviously was the 9th place the last time out at Spa. He dives to the right of the huge Porsche. Just not going the way that he will have wanted. Through turn 1, through turn 2. Slightly wide, but now set behind Owen Parker James. Owen having a relatively quiet race, sat in 6th. I want to say that'll probably be his best result this season. That will be, yes, it will be his best result so far. It was actually at round 1, which was a 7th place. It was an 8th place at round 2, and then of course the retirement last time out with a rather large accident that we didn't see on the broadcast at Raidillon. Ended up on his roof rolling over a couple of times. It was a rather spectacular shunt, if we do say so ourselves. Through the Lesmo. Obviously, he didn't want to back down too much either, because he has got the Porsche not too far behind. It's seeming to settle down now. 50 seconds left on the clock, and our race leaders quite a way through the lap. Looking now at Ian Pfeiffer, of course our GT leader. He's going to be looking very comfortable indeed. Where is our overall leader actually? Now I think of it, with 30 seconds left to go. He's coming through, he's just down through Saraglio. So I think this might actually be our final lap. So I didn't see when he crossed the start-finish line. But either way, over the curbs, out of Ascari. Got 10 seconds on the clock. He definitely will be coming across the line with it at no time remaining. 5 seconds left into the braking points for Parabolica. Keeps it nice and tight on the inside. 0 minutes remaining. It has been a flawless drive from Adam State. He comes out of the final corner, brings it as tight to the inside as possible. It is the checkered flag, and it is a victory for the WSR Esports driver across the line. 7.5 seconds to the good of Nicholas Davis, who scores his best result this season, bringing it home in 2nd for Cadillac. And Ian Pfeiffer, we thought he would be dethroned here today. They threw the works at him, they threw the weather, they threw new entrants, and they threw as many hypercars as we possibly could. But it's going to be 4 out of 4 for the Frenchman. Ian Pfeiffer wins again in GT for Mercedes. Ryan Gill comes home for third. A beautiful result for the Aston. Chris Davis on debut, second place. Not too shabby at all. I don't think he'll be too displeased with that. Lexus getting its highest result of the season, and it's going to be followed home by its colleague, Bradley Sellers, Team Rookie Monsters, another debutant. He's going to come home in third as well, another experienced RF2 hand. I don't think he'll be too displeased with that either. And he's going to come home about 10 seconds to the good of Paul Venter in fourth. So it's Lexus second, third and fourth today. A complete turn on its head for the luck of Lexus this season. He's very happy with that result, with it being his best in very, very challenging conditions. And Lucas Polivka is going to be in fifth. Meanwhile, Yoshimitsu finishes sixth. A race of what could have been. A race of what could have been for that Ferrari. Owen Parker-James is going to score his best result, pending only outcome of the investigation that we'll probably see from the accident with Southfield, if any is thrown. So he comes home in sixth. Seventh will be Seb Schutter in the Porsche. A race of what could have been for him as well. Very, very good qualifying for that car. And then an accident. Eighth will be Ollie Newman. Craig Twardock finishing ninth. The Corvette. I don't know, is it just a lack of pace? Is it lack of comfort in the rain? Mix of things? We know what he's capable of. We've seen him at the front. We know he's got the pace to be there. But this is the big surprise this race. Angelo Scotti only 10th this race. 10th. Again, this will go to her drop round, but 10th at Monza. Very, very unusual for her. Hopefully it's just a blip and it's not something we're going to see for the rest of the season. Unless we miss something like some contact or something. But again, Adam State, just from Nicholas Davis, from Ryan Gill, Billy Octane, Peter Veneer, Christian Yoshimitsu and Henko Vandenberg. And then, obviously, Florio Reiter round out the hypercar standings. Ian Pfeiffer takes the victory in GT from Chris Davis and Bradley Sellers. As you saw, Paul Venter sat in fourth. Lucas Polivka in fifth. Owen Parker-James in sixth. Sean Shooter, apologies, in seventh. Followed by Ollie Newman, Craig Twardock, Angela Scotti, Connor Dickman, and Johan van der Venter. It was a very wet race, one with probably a few sodden emotions as well. And Jack Southfield, Paul Crawford, all DNFing. And I don't think Walter Steenberg had even started, because I think he was trying to set a lap, actually. So it'll be interesting to see that one. But there's going to be some sodden emotions here today as we leave the Italian circuit of Monza and we head over to the Middle East, over to the Arabias, to Bahrain. And that'll be in a week's time. But for myself, Alex Skinner, from Kieran Sharp, the broadcaster, Evan Sharpie, it's goodbye for now.